middle child, horrific child.
Why horrific? I have to go there.
I was just bossy. I was very loud. I was the leader of the pack. So you can imagine. I went to 7 junior schools. Seven junior schools. Because they could not find out why this child was so outspoken and
At home
and could communicate with anything and answer questions and do it. But as soon as you put me into a fixed classroom and a fixed area, I couldn't communicate because I couldn't write.
Hi everyone, welcome to Moments with Nyengeterai, and I am so excited to have you back. I hope you had a brilliant week, and I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday today. So today I have an amazing guest. You know when you've watched someone from a distance and you've interacted with them, but not personally, and then now you finally meet them. So I have the famous Barbreanne. Barbreanne, welcome.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure having you. You know, your name is synonymous with flowers in the market and weddings, especially us old school people, I just want you to introduce yourself to those who don't know you. Who are you? What are you about?
I'm Barbreanne. That's my first name. I named my company after myself, my flowers after myself, and I'm a florist. But I've got no paper degrees, but I've got years of experience. And from my experience with flowers and doing international shows, I started a little company in 2003, and that's called Barbreanne's, the Event Florist and Coordination Company. And then I managed that for 20 years odd, and yeah, it's all good. So I'm just Barbreanne the florist. I've got 2 wonderful children from my first marriage, and and they are, one is in the UK and one is here. So I'm very blessed, I'm very grateful, I'm very humble, and I'm thankful.
Oh, wow. Barbreanne, it's a pleasure having you. And, just listening to you, I know we started talking before the camera started rolling. I'm just so excited. I mean, the stories that you have. So I want us to start. Tell me about your childhood. I always believe that those formative years are very important. Tell me how you grew up, where you grew up. What were your, the special moments that you remember as a child?
I had the most amazing parents. Mm-hmm. Although I did not bond with my mother, I was my dad's favorite.
Girls and their fathers.
Yeah. I grew up in Raffangora, the little farming area. And we were on a couple of farms. My dad never ever owned a farm. He always managed a farm. So I've got good management things from my dad. He was never a landowner. He was always just a manager. School was a problem. I was that middle child, horrific child.
Why horrific? I have to go there.
I was just bossy. I was very loud. I was the leader of the pack. So you can imagine. And then the school started. And my mum was a real warrior. She couldn't understand why at home I was so out of my shell. And yet at school, I couldn't communicate. I just could not communicate. And it was because I had severe dyslexia, which they only discovered in about grade 7, which was then standard 6, maybe standard 7. And Mum was the warrior. I went to 7 junior schools. Seven junior schools, because they could not find out why this child was so outspoken and
at home
and could communicate with anything and answer questions and do it. But as soon as you put me into a fixed classroom and a fixed area, I couldn't communicate because I couldn't write. I'm very, very left-handed, incredibly left-handed. And a little tip for you, if you've got a left-handed child or a left-handed grandchild or niece and nephew, never ever teach them side by side. You must teach them opposite, because they are visualizer. Left-handers are visualizers.
Wow.
So always teach your left-handed. Never stop them being a left-handed. You can make them ambidextrous, but always do that. And Mum was a fighter. And she just carried on plugging. Why? My brother was head boy and my sister was head girl. And yet I was the middle child, and I had no O-levels. I had no RCG. I had nothing. I couldn't communicate. Yet my writing is beautiful because I'm arty and creative, but I can't spell.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did they discover that you're dyslexic? I mean, after going to 7 schools, I mean, what was the treatment like? I'm trying to imagine a young child.
Remember, it's way back in the 60s. So I'm a generation above you. So it was very, very hard. It's not like today's school where you've got your remedial lessons and you've got all of that as your backup. And they put whiteboards in front of you and they can see that you're mixing up the letters. They can see that you're doing a B instead of a D, a P instead of a B. Do you know that's also hard to do a P and a B and a D. You know, it's very difficult. So Mum and our family, we moved down to South Africa because Dad thought he was going to make $1 million with family. And I was put into a school in Sedgefield. And while I was in Sedgefield, I was like grade 3, but I had grade 8s, 9s, and 10s in my class. Because in South Africa, the qualifications to get into the next grade, you have to have English, maths, or Afrikaans. You have to have 2 out of the 3. Well, I failed Afrikaans, I failed English, and maths I was only memorizing. So I stayed in grade 3 for 2 years, and Mum couldn't take it. She left my dad, she left my brother, she left my sister, and we came back to what was then Rhodesia, and they put me into Selborne Rutledge. And Selborne Rutledge, as you know, is in Belvedere. And the headmaster was so kind. He said to my mum, she can't be in standard 3 when she should be in grade 5. So we'll put her up a year, although she can't, and then she'll only do a repeat year. So that's how they discovered, because Mum was the fighter.
Wow.
Yeah.
The power of mothers.
Yeah, mothers know. Mothers know. And don't ever down yourself about being a mother. You do know your child. Yeah, you might have circumstances that don't allow you to stay with your children or put them into boarding school or whatever. But it's all good. You are the mother, and you must never, ever forget that.
How did that make you feel as a child, having to repeat, you know? And I know, because I remember back then when we were in primary school, and for lack of knowledge, obviously, we had people in that class, and you know how people would name kids, you know? How did you take that? Because I actually remember, and I'm sure I must have been guilty of probably saying 1 or 2 things to some child, but I didn't know any better. Only when I grew up and I became a mother myself that I realized, oh my gosh, this is not nice. Did you have people would call you names?
Oh yes,
you know.
Oh yes.
And how did you cope with that as a child? And
I was
did it
very
affect your
blessed.
adulthood?
No, it didn't affect my adulthood. I was like a little fox terrier from way back then. I fought. If you downed me, I would mouth you back. And I got very ugly in my 20s. I had foul language, a foul mouth, and that was my defensive mechanism. So, yes, you do have bad times at school. You not bullied, but like you say, you teased. Oh, she couldn't even spell that. She couldn't even do that. But I had an amazing sister who was 2 years my junior, and she actually became an exchange student. That's how brainy she was, or how advanced she was. And she was there for me throughout. We went to girls' high school. We were boarders because our parents were farming. And yeah, I was just the naughty middle child. I was just one of the gang. Yeah, you are teased at school and you can get through it. Don't let it overtake you. And remember that when you've got a disability or you've got a disadvantage, not a disability, because I haven't got a disability, I've got a disadvantage. God arms you with something else. So even though you can't see it at that time, when you're so young or whatever time you find out how your skills aren't matching, you actually have beautiful inner strength from God. And that for me was visualization. I can always project what I want to do. I can always see the end picture, the end result. And I started my career as a window dresser at Barbers. And they insisted that I have a course of flower arranging lessons. Mum was always good in the garden. She always had a lovely garden. And I went to flower arranging lessons and I learned 3D. I don't know if you understand that. 3D. So a flower arrangement is 3D.
How is that?
Because a flower is a whole unit. So you've got the front, the back, the sides. The leaves are another unit. The vase is another unit. The bamboo sticks are another unit. So you learn 3D. And that's how you can do window dressing or display work, is you learn 3D. But what everybody didn't say to me was, you'll get a passion for flowers. And I did. And I never, ever looked back.
How old were you when you got this, when you discovered this passion for flowers?
I was about 18, 17. Wow. Yeah. And then once I was a window dresser, I really had a ball in the department store. And I used to be called Bam Bam because we used to get imported stuff then. And they put me in a window where I had to display all the glassware from South Africa or from Italy, wherever it came from. And they then, at the end of your display, you have to clean the floor. So I cleaned the floor, but I forgot that I had a broom handle. And I wiped out the whole display because the broom handle took out the shelves.
And everything just
exploded.
Oh my, after all the work.
Yeah. And I was then, from then on, known as Bam Bam. So it was out with the Barbreanne, in with the Bam Bam. Just like the Flintstones, that cartoon that we all remember. So yes, that's how I discovered that you learn that passion and you learn 3D from flower arrangements.
And then from there, you were working at Barbers, you were doing flower arrangement. And then how did we become this world-renowned florist? Take me through that journey, you know, from being a window dresser and the lessons that you learned along the way, you know.
I was very blessed. I met and fell in love and married the love of my life.
At what age?
19.
Wow. That's pretty young.
And I had my first baby when I was 20. And I lived on a farm and life was good. And I had a beautiful garden. And I entered in flower shows. And the communities were there then. So flower shows were big. The agriculture show was big. And the agriculture show used to contact me and say, are you available to do display work? So I kept my finger in the door with display work, and I did the tobacco floors show stand, and we got stand of the year. I did Air Zimbabwe. So I kept in there. And then my husband had a fallout with his family because we were on the family farm. And we left, and my husband was into hotels. So off we trundled, and we went and looked at 2 hotels. The one was out of our bracket, and my husband and a partner bought Bronsbury Park Hotel. And I was thrown in the deep end. And I was very blessed because I've got a brain, although I cannot do it right and that, but I've got a photographic memory. So I used to go and I used to see all the companies and I used to organize all the conferences and I used to do all the bookings and I used to make all the Christmas parties come together. And for 10 years we ran the hotel, but all the time I was doing display work, flower shows, and organizing behind the scenes. Also being the mouthpiece, but that's what I did. And the flower shows started to come rapidly. And then in 1999, I was invited to go with the Zimbabwean team to Durban, which was the huge World Flower Show. There were 800 exhibitors.
Wow.
And my title was the praise singer.
The praise singer.
The praise singer. And I decided to do, because I'm a visualizer, I decided to do a Zulu warrior and hit the people where it would hit most, because we were in Africa. I'd do a Zulu warrior. And it got a bronze award. And it was all in plant material.
Wow.
And it stood 6 feet high, which is this tall as a man. And he was doing the actions.
Using flowers.
Greenery, plant material, skeletonized leaves. I'm not sure if you know what those are.
No, what are those?
So it's a leaf that you've made into skeleton. So you just see their veins and you see their inner strength. You look at the plant thing, and that was his skirt. And I put wire at the back so it would have rhythm and movement. And his head was one of those incredible carvings that you get on the side of the road. It wasn't in stone, it was in wood. And just the front was carved and the back was natural wood. So it got a bronze award.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, that is like really impressive. I mean,
yeah.
And how old were you at this time?
I've got no idea. 1999.
You had your kids by then, obviously.
Yeah, they were at boarding school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I should think they were at Peterhouse by then.
Okay.
So I was very blessed. So that was my first international show. And then a little bit later, I left the hotel and I came into Harare. And I worked at Reps. And again, it was entertainment, events, and all of that. But I did the tickets. And everybody would say to me on the side, why don't you do my sister's wedding? Why don't you do flowers? And the atmosphere then, or what happened then, was you would get your other friends to help you do your flowers. But I was stubborn. I wasn't going to ask my friends to help me do flowers for a wedding. And that's how I began. And my first big break was a huge wedding, 50 tables at Harry Margolis Hall. And by that time, you mentioned that I had my house in Avondale. So I was very blessed, and I did that. And that's how I began my career in wedding flowers, just on the weekends, and worked at Reps during the week. And then I had 2 florists that would moonlight for me and come in. And the one was from Chitungwiza and the other one was from Seki. And we would do 50 arrangements that night.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we would go and we would display them and set up the next day on the Saturday when all the weddings happened. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And what was it about the wedding era at that time? Like, what do you believe were the key themes then? And how has that transformed to current themes now in terms of flowers and weddings?
It's very sad. Flowers have lost their sell-by date for weddings. Everybody now puts lace, crates, candles, not much flowers, not much plant material. Scented candles, if you have a wedding, be careful. It will put an aroma on your food, and your guests will say, but the food smelled funny. It's not the food. It's the aroma candles. So you've got to have somebody with experience to say to you, this is where you can go wrong with your new decor ideas. Very few plants and flowers are used today. Where I did flowers from maybe 1999 to 2020, we used to have a lot of flowers. We used to get them all from here. COVID did a dreadful thing when COVID came. The flowers, the roses were not being able to export. And I don't know if you remember all the photographs you saw at the Dutch auction.
I actually remember that.
And there was like big container fulls of just dead flowers. So that put an end to the rose growers here. And a lot of the rose growers now are no longer. And a lot of the rose growers have taken the roses out and plant blackberries, blueberries, raspberries. So there's not many roses left here. You still sell flowers at Valentine's Day. Mother's Day is an excellent day. But flowers are a thing that you've got to love. People now don't give flowers. They give chocolates. They don't give now all perfumes. Flowers, unfortunately, not great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so sad though, because I love flowers. I think it's one of my love languages. Flowers, please, more flowers, people. That's my love language. And I got a beautiful flowers from Barbreanne when she came. So as an adult, you're now doing this, and then you've evolved. The business has evolved. And then later on in life, talk to me about.
Well, before I changed my life, did a whirlpool, 2011 came, and I was inspired to write a wedding planning book.
Wow.
So I decided that if I wrote a planner, it would help the young girls navigate marriage, navigate their partners, and hopefully God would be the mainstay of their marriage. So that's what I did. And I bought a copy for you to see.
Oh, wow.
And unfortunately, it sold out. I did 3 editions, and it was very, very successful. And it told you exactly how you could organize your own wedding without going through a coordinator, because you could just get your elder sister, younger sister to be the cheeky one at the end of the phone to say, well, where's the photographer? And the venue has not mowed the lawn, or the venue has not put the boat out, or whatever. And it also told you about destinations, venues. People forget that venues, you need 3 things. You need space, you need parking, you need water, and you need blues. Because when the tetes arrive on their transport, they get off the bus or off the transport, and what do they want to do? They need to clean. They are very, very insistent on being clean. And you have to have your little bowls of water, you have to have your toilet facilities, you have to have your power. So people forget that this book told them exactly what to look after. And it also told them about the laws of marriage, Lobola, and it told them about the laws in Zimbabwe that we are married in Roman Dutch law, and its community of property. So it had all of those tips. And how did I do it?
I was about to ask, if you're dyslexic, how did you write a book?
Because I can visualize what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And with modern technology, you pay. And I had an amazing lady who was my desktop publisher. I did it all in longhand, what I wanted. And I was recovering from a knee replacement from my arthritis. And I was sitting on the Zambezi Valley, and I was writing my book. And then when I came back to town, it was 2008, the knee replacement, recovery 2009, and I got it published in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a big break for me. Yeah.
That's very inspirational. And then that was your adult life. And then again in your adult life, you had another, I know we were just discussing. And first of all, how did you know to go to the doctor? Let's start there. How did you know to go to the doctor, and how were you told?
Well, I had a good innings. I really did. I was closed down with my company in 2020 with COVID, and I then did other things. And the next thing that happened is my daughter has always lived in the UK since she was about 20. And as you know, we all get our underwear from the UK. And she brought me my Marks and Spencer stuff. And I put it on, and there was a bump. And I spoke to the husband, and I said, there's a bump. And it was the size of a pea. It was very small.
Where about?
On my breast. On my left breast. So, as usual, I panicked, and I phoned my daughter-in-law, and I phoned my daughter. And they said, just go to the Well Woman Clinic. A fantastic facility, but rather dear. Rather dear. So off I went, and it was bam, bam, bam. You've got a lump, stay here. And it was terrible. It was an awful day in my life. You sat there from 10 o'clock until 3 o'clock waiting for the results. And then they come at 3 o'clock and they say, well, come back tomorrow for a biopsy. And now you're panicking. So you went back, and then they give you the results 5 days later. And it was on the 20th of June. And by the 25th of July, I was already having the mastectomy. That's how quick they acted. And I think if you are diagnosed with breast cancer or a lump or whatever you want to call it, pause, stop, take time, speak to your family, get a second opinion. But I didn't. I went with the flow. It all
How
happened.
How are you feeling mentally? I always, I think that I call it the big C word. I hate that word. You know, I know we have to live with it and understand that it can happen to any of us. My brother died of colon cancer. So every time I hear the C word, I panic. How did you feel when you were told?
I couldn't believe that it happened to me. I was well. Yes, I had arthritis, but I was well. But I think the C word can be attributed to stress. And I was just bombarded, and I didn't pause, and I didn't think about alternative medicine. I didn't think what would happen. And I just went with the flow. I was so blessed to have support of my two daughters, my son in the background. I mean, he came every day to see me in hospital, and he's a man. You know, he would come in at 7 o'clock in the morning. Wow. And it's not visiting hours then, but he would bulldoze his way, and he's got my mouth. And he would come and see me every day. And then, you know, you've just got to be careful because you've had the mastectomy and then it just blew up. So I had like a third breast. Meanwhile, it was a cyst.
So you were still in hospital?
Yeah. So you've just got to relax and take it all in and call your physician or call your surgeon or call. And they were phenomenal. They came in and I went back to theatre and they drained it or whatever they had to do. And then I had to rest another couple of weeks and then they started the chemo.
How was the journey, the chemo journey?
It's hard. I try and give back to people with cancer now. I go and sit with them and say, you can get through this. Breast cancer, I do believe chemo works. I believe it's one of the drugs that the chemo does work. There's a lot of other alternative medicines. There's a lot of other routes you can go. I didn't go that route. I had the chemo. And there's a very, very aggressive drug called the Red Devil. That's its common name. And that makes you really feel yuck. And you get out after your day, wherever you have your drip put into you and you have your chemo. And I was lucky with my support system. My daughter used to phone from the UK. Thank goodness for WhatsApp. Thank goodness for mobile phones. And she'd say, "How are you feeling?" And I would say, "Well, I'm actually very nauseous." And she would say, "Right." And then she'd phone me back 10 minutes later. And I had a clash with my nausea tablets. So as soon as she mentioned the name or the brand that I should be on, the oncologist here found that brand, and I haven't looked back.
Wow.
And then I had that in the 2022, and then on the 25th of January 2023, I fell over the dog, the little dachshund, and I screamed like a Jewish mama, and luckily I was taken to the hospital, and Dr. Bowers operated on me, but while I was being operated on, I went into heart failure, attributed to the chemotherapy. And now I'm well, but I wasn't well. It's a huge journey to have chemotherapy. It knocks everything out of you. Everything. And I went under a great physician, and it's now 2024. I've still got a heart condition, a lot of medication, but I got through that. And, here we've got a fantastic facility of radiation. It's in Newlands, and you must go if you can afford it, if you've got medical aid or whatever options you've got. The radiation is a must with breast cancer, and it's 40 minutes or 15 minutes actually under the radiation for 25 days.
And how
Straight.
is that on your skin, on you physically?
It's tiring and it burns. And I had a skin irritation from it, but another great doctor here looked at it and she said, "Oh, just pat it with water as often as you can," and it went away. But I got through it. Everything was good. And now I only need to see the oncologist in 6 months' time. I've done 18 months remission. Wow. And my heart condition, I only have to see the physician again in 6th of March next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's all good.
Oh, wow.
So you can get through this. And I think I had a lot of faith, a lot of support from the family, but I also had God. I really believe God has seen me through my life. I've been very blessed. I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful. And I hope I'm humble.
I think having a heart of gratitude really makes a difference in your life. You start appreciating a lot of things, I think, when you have that heart of gratitude. And I just want to know, like, the lessons that you learned from that period, especially during your cancer journey and then your almost heart failure, and then coming out and now being in remission and only having to see the doctor again next year. What are your key life lessons? And what are your key life lessons?
Stay abreast with the times. Believe in your oncologist. Believe in your physician. Don't let anybody sidetrack you that you must go on alternative medicines, that you must do this, you must do that. You must go what is right for you. I've had chemo, I've had radiation, I'm chuffed. I don't think I would have made it had I gone any other route. There's a lot of options now, and like I said, you must pray, stop, pause. You must pause, stop, pray. Because at the end of the day, it must be your decision. You can't leave it to your husband, your children, your mother to say, this is what you must do. And I feel that was my biggest life lesson, is to just keep going. I got very down at 2023, and I was blessed with my family, my 2 children, who just said, "Come on, Mom, you can get out of this. You can get out of this." And this year in January, I managed to pull off another event. I did the Ultimate Wedding Expo, and I invited all the people that were from the Avondale house, and everybody knew who I was. Dropping names, John Cole came aboard.
Oh, wow.
Nabila Jogi came aboard. Terry, the lady with the guitar, came aboard. And they all supported me, not just for the event, but to get me out on the road again. So this is my first 6 months back in the business, fighting back and just being positive. I think try not get negative. Yes, you can get negative and you think, why me? But at the end of the day, just be positive and pray. And I had a fantastic poem or saying sent to me, and it said, let God lead. And when you let God lead, you'll come through the door with courage.
Amen. Amen. That is so powerful.
Yeah. And you can see the courage verse in Deuteronomy 31:6. Give me strength, give me courage.
Wow, Barbreanne. Oh my gosh, we could talk for hours. My gosh. Yeah, your story is just like absolutely amazing. And I look at you and your resilience, and I think what you really said to me that really touched me is just having faith and having that thankful heart and, like gratitude, and just saying, I can do this and staying positive. That is really key.
I find it very hard to stay positive. I've had my days where I've just laid on the bed and felt sorry for me. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I think I'll go and eat worms. But at the end of the day, your children, your family, your aunt, and the quiet voice in the back of your mind says, you can get through this. You've just got to get through this. And I think my love for flowers has also helped in that you can see the beauty. And like I said, with the skeletonized leaves, when you make it into a skeleton, you can see all the veins. You can see God's creation. So it was incredible that way back then I was given flowers. And yes, I've got no paper documents, but you know what? I've got years of experience, and I've had a good innings with my flowers, and now it's time to just come back slowly and do events slowly, and see what the next chapter holds. I've written a book. I've reached my goals. I've been blessed.
Oh, that is amazing. So just to close us off, we're going to have some fun questions. So what's your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is definitely the purples.
Oh, why though?
The purples and the mauves. I chose that for my company, and I learned that from Becky K. To have your brand, and your brand sticks out. And then I listened to your iPod with her, and you said you had actually inspired her with your brand, saying how important your brand is. So yes, purple has been my color for many years.
Oh wow, that's so amazing. And your favorite animal?
I'm not really an animal person. I love butterflies.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I see they're part of your brand, actually.
Yes.
They're part of your icon. And you have a butterfly on your...
Yes.
I see that. Wow. So yeah, butterflies I can see.
And butterflies are all about transition, metamorphosis. So you go into a cocoon, you heal. When you come out, you might think you're a caterpillar because you don't love yourself beforehand. You always doubt yourself. You pull yourself down, which I'm very good at doing. And then with a butterfly, you're transformed into this beautiful little insect. And your life is short after that. And you must appreciate every moment.
Must appreciate every moment. Very powerful. Are you reading anything currently?
No, I don't read.
You don't read at all. And what is your all-time favorite movie that you've watched?
Well, I've got to be honest, and it was last night I had a binge night, and I watched Pretty Woman.
I love Pretty Woman. I love You know, every time I want to watch a feel-good movie, I watch Pretty Woman.
I just can't believe how versatile that girl is. I mean, she is just unbelievable.
She is unbelievable.
You know, she was such a loose woman in that movie, and she pulled it off. And then you watch Erin Brockovich, and she could repeat all those lines and those names and the chemical that was poisoning everybody. She's an inspiration.
She's an inspiration.
Yeah.
Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
Yes, amazing. Yeah. Okay, if this was your last day on Earth and you're about to transition, and you're like, okay, God, I'm ready to go now because I've done what? What do you believe you need to have done to?
My life is full. I've got wonderful children. I've got wonderful grandchildren. I'm blessed. I think when you get to your senior life, you've got to accept that your children are there, not because you're a burden, but because they want to give back to you. And I have great difficulties in accepting that my children are there for me. And you must remember that as a young mother, that you are their mum. And you can be a terrible mother, but to them, you're always their mother. So I'm grateful that I've got wonderful children, wonderful sister and my brother. My sister is in New Zealand, but my life is full.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. And if we're packing our bags right now and we are on our way to the airport, where would we be flying off to?
I think, again, I would be going to family. As much as you'd like to go to the beach and you'd like to chill, my mind's too busy to chill on the beach. I'm thinking of the next thing and my next flower arrangement and whatever. I'd go and see my grandchildren and my sister and my daughter. Yeah.
That's so precious.
Yeah.
So just to close us off, what is one message that you want to give our viewers before we close?
Believe in yourself and don't pull yourself down. And I'm very great at pulling myself down. I don't have the confidence. You've just got to ride the crest of the wave and let God lead, and you'll have courage.
Fantastic. I have nothing extra to add. Let God lead, and you'll have the courage, especially as you're going into the new week now. Let God lead, and you'll have the courage. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Have a fantastic week. Bye.
Bye.